Good morning, everybody. My name is Christine Reeves Strugaro, and I am excited to be partnering with PIN today and to talk with you and learn from you about how we can strengthen PIN's internship and fellowship model. I'm joined today by Clarence and Cody on PIN's team, and we're going to, you are in the right place if you are interested in fellowships and internships. We're going to go through an overview of the program, but we want to make sure we protect at least 20 minutes at the end to hear from you. And we have three specific questions we'll be asking. Um, so as you go through this, just keep in mind this multi-year sponsorship model, the cohort model, the cost benefit financially and logistically, and PIN's recent move to go beyond just Georgia and the Southeast, but nationwide. So we'll revisit that at the end, but please jump in. I'm going to be keeping an eye on the chat, but also verbally if you have a question or comment. This is meant to be a conversation as PIN constantly improves. It's great work. So with that, today's agenda and goals. So again, we'll give a overview of PIN. We're going to ask who's in the room today. We'll also be recording this to save for others who are interested in this work. We'll go over the purpose of the fellows and interns and the audiences we're trying to reach. Then we'll do a deeper dive on what is the PIN summer internship, what is the PIN year-long fellowship, and then we are launching or soft launching today the multi-year anchor sponsorships. And of course, as I said, getting your feedback on these multi-year anchor sponsorships. So I'm going to hand it over now to Clarence to share who PIN is.
All right, thank you, Christine, and good to see a number of familiar names in the meeting today. Really glad for you all to join us as we kind of talk about what we're up to and what we're hoping to do as we move forward as an organization. And so for those of you who aren't familiar with PIN, a Partnership for Inclusive Innovation, we are coming up on our 5-year anniversary. And so during and over the last 5 years, we have seen ourselves as a startup, but then also a do tank. And now we're moving in the process of, in the direction of becoming a social enterprise with the goal of advancing technology, innovation, partnership, and economic mobility, economic development, and shared economic prosperity across Georgia and the Southeast. We believe that by building partnerships between the public and the private sector, it facilitates uh, advancement of technology and innovation for those to be able to share resources. We also have a strong focus on bringing together and having a focus on large and medium and small communities across Georgia and the Southeast, thereby sharing resources and expanding our impact. Next slide, please. And so what we're seeing in terms of the trends across the United States, and there are a number of them. For one, you may be familiar that there is a large trend of reverse migration, as it is defined, where a number of people from across the country are moving to the Southeast, either just to relocate and work and or engage in some of the industries that are growing. Um, to that point, we also have a number of industries that are growing within the Southeast, such as manufacturing, finance, the technology sector, supply chain and logistics, as well as clean tech. And so that creates a lot of opportunity for people as they move here and engage in the world of work. Um, Additionally, a lot of students and high school students are choosing to enroll in college here, thereby increasing the talent pool and the labor pool, and giving a lot of opportunity within workforce development and talent development. And finally, a number of small cities and rural communities are seeing the benefit, the economic benefit, the social benefit of interacting with and adopting technology to meet the needs of stakeholders, constituents, and citizens within their cities and communities. So with all those things in mind, we are seeking to kind of take advantage of some of these trends and then also be responsive to the needs of the economy, the needs of stakeholders across Georgia, and our work interacts, I would say, with each one of these trends. Next slide, please. And so what we do can be put into three buckets. As I mentioned, so we foster public-private partnerships throughout each of our pillars, but then also celebrating innovation at all levels. The investing in emerging innovators and next generation innovators is specifically what we'll be talking about today for our two pillars, the workforce development pillar and the student engagement pillar. And so our goal is to create the next generation of innovators within the talent pool who are college students, both at the technical level as well as the four-year degree granting level, and then also people who are within the working adult population, to give them the opportunity to develop skills, experience, and expertise that will help them to be successful in the short term and in the long term in their careers. And then also to develop them as leaders so that they will have the skills necessary to make potential transitions with any industry that they may potentially consider. And next slide.
Yep. Great. So now who's in the room? So we have three polling questions. So please take a look at your screen. What best describes your institution? So you'll see these options. So if you could just click the one that best describes your organization. And then second, oh, they're all together. Are you a past or current sponsor of a PIN intern or fellow? So that second question, if you scroll down. And then third, are you considering an intern or a fellow? So, or both are unsure. So just to give you a recap, we'll go into more depth in a moment, but interns are for a duration of 12 months versus fellows, 12 weeks versus fellows that are 12 months, but you would have one of two 6-month rotations for a fellow. Both come in a cohort, so you would have the best practice for a successful experience for both the employer and the fellow or intern by having a pair. And then you would have an undergraduate or graduate student for the intern and an emerging to emerged or mid or late career individual for the fellow. So for all those who can participate, please answer those questions. It's looking like we have other in business, someone more interested in the internship, and people unsure or both for the intern and fellow. So I'm going to wrap up the poll, but if you weren't able to participate, please keep those in mind. So here's what we found. All right. So for today, our purpose and audiences. So as Clarence said, we are focused on empowering the next generation of the workforce to connect to meaningful careers and drive economic prosperity. And we're doing that through two different mediums, the PIN Summer Internship and the PIN Year-Long Fellowship. And we're looking forward to your feedback. We also want to highlight that we're trying to identify and remove barriers. And one of the biggest ones isn't just financial cost, but logistical cost. And what I was really impressed with, having had several experiences, good, bad, and ugly, with internships logistics, is it's great that Georgia Tech is able to actually do the hiring for you and handle the logistics. So it's can be on their payroll, and you have a crack team being able to help identify the intern or fellow you would desire, as well as a variety of options within that. So for solutions, we understand, as I just mentioned, the barriers that prevent employers from fully leveraging internship and fellowship programs, time, logistics, sourcing the right talent. And PIN removes these barriers by managing hiring payroll through Georgia Tech, providing access to high caliber, mission-driven talent, handling the logistics for you. You are, accountable on the front end to help think through the project or job description and make final decisions on who is hired. But all of that work in between is taken care of. And then really valuably building a peer network of employers to share best practices, where we're getting a lot of feedback from all sectors about hiring Gen Z and what that looks like, or Gen Alpha now, and some best practices there. So your feedback matters. We're listening. So we are introducing a new sponsorship models, expanding employer support, and strategic program enhancements. So these are the things we'll be talking about at the end, but please use the chat if you have a question now. So we're focusing on multi-year anchor sponsors. So those who want to sponsor, which doesn't mean you have to host an intern or fellow, we'll get to that in a moment, but at least fund an internship or fellowship, and to do that for 2 or more years, so that if you have longer term projects, you don't have to start from scratch in the logistics process each year. And then cohort-based hosting models. So both the interns and fellows come in a pair of 2 for either 12 weeks or 6 months times 2 different placements. And then expanded sponsorship opportunities across Georgia, the Southeast, and beyond. We're also looking at 3 different audiences for this work. So first, you employers. PIN is that one-stop shop for you, saving time, money, and stress, providing the professional development to make it a great experience for the interns and fellows, but also taking that burden off the employers and giving employers some tools that they can use when hiring junior and mid-level staff, among other things. And then, of course, sharing best practices and expertise and that peer network we talked about of other employers. Then, obviously, there are interns and fellows. We want to be that one-stop shop for them as well, and really walk in their shoes of what are they seeking? What do they want out of this experience, and how can it be provided for them? How they can build their network, professional development, and knowledge. And then looking more broadly, communities and future generations, where industries need this talent pipeline. Projects, however you define innovation, should be benefiting communities. And there's a multi-generational impact in everything that's being done. But today we're going to focus a little more deeply on the employer side. Now, there are 2 different ways of approaching this. There's sponsors, those who fund the work, and hosts, those who are the project leads on the ground for the interns or fellows. That can be the same institution, or those could be different institutions. And the value that PIN is providing is decreasing financial costs and challenges. Hiring people can be a financial drain when you look at the number of hours that goes towards this of your FTEs, as opposed to both finding the talent and outsourcing the financial cost of it. But I would say even more importantly, time is our most valuable resource, and PIN's able to decrease logistical costs and challenges that you see here. And it includes having PIN or Georgia Tech's payroll that is actually hiring them, so you don't have to worry about that on your team. Another way to look at it is the plus side. So wanting to increase every employer's ability to attract talent when that is really difficult during market, political, social vicissitudes, and increasing best practices. And of course, increasing the impact of whatever projects you have in mind. In terms of the sponsors and fellows, we're also providing several options. So the first option would be to be both a sponsor, meaning funding an intern and fellow, and hosting them, being the project lead on the ground. So your organization would actually house them and fund them. The second is to sponsor only. And this can be a great opportunity, let's say, for a grant-making foundation, an association, a corporate citizen-focused business that maybe doesn't want to host an intern or fellow, but can think of a great nonprofit or partner in the community that could really benefit from one. And you would have the ability to look at the long waiting list that Penn has of folks eager to have an intern or fellow and pick one that fits the goals and mission and values you have. And then finally, we have sponsors for professional development only. So as we mentioned, we'll go through the budget, but there's a piece of the interns and the fellows work that is focused on professional development, and you would be able at a lower price tag to be able to support that in a couple different ways. We also understand there's other motivations, enhancing your brand, and Penn can help you do that. It could be sharing stories of how interns and fellows are creating impact that help your PR, and again, to be a good corporate citizen and to be able to show this, but this is by no means limited to the business for-profit sector in being able to do this work. And then, of course, being a mentor, looking for those opportunities as well. All right. So this is just a sampling of the employer ecosystem. You'll see nonprofit organizations like the Georgia Water Coalition. You'll see philanthropy like the Community Foundation for Greater Atlanta, corporations like Cox, government agencies. So this is meant for all types of employers. We also are looking at this timeline. If you are interested, we have a QR code at the end, and we'd be able to send you a more detailed timeline. But you would be considering for, if you're looking at summer 2025, we'd have to chat really quickly. But if you're already planning 2026 or want to lock into multiple years of taking off your plate, interns and fellows, we also know that during these economic times, you might not be able to make the case for a junior or mid-level staff person, but having a fellow for 6 months could be really great to help you maybe make the case for longer-term employee opportunities. So all this can be useful. Plus, you would potentially be able to hire an intern full-time or hire a fellow full-time if it ended up working out once the term is over. So let me hand it over now to Cody to talk about the summer internship program.
Thanks so much, Christine. Hi, everybody. My name is Cody Koki. I'm the Student Engagement Manager here at the partnership. And between me and my colleague, Keandre, we run the Penn Summer Internship. And so with the internship, we have a paired model. So we typically send 2 interns per site. And that is to promote cross-disciplinary problem solving. Typically, we get two different types of students from 2 different institutions, 2 different majors, really kind of working together to address whatever challenge that you're trying to address through your project. And on the surface, it's a 12-week summer internship where students work full-time on-site with you all in 95% of cases. We do ask for just a couple hours back per week. So out of the 40, maybe ask for about 2 hours per week back so students can engage in professional development and other mentorship types of activities. And this is a place-based type of approach. So thinking about being on site with your organization. And typically, you know, we're really hyper fixated and focused on the larger Southeast US. We started in Georgia, emanate out of Georgia, but understand that we do need strong partners throughout the Southeast to support the work that we do. And in terms of the projects, we focus on innovation specifically. So we understand that innovation is subjective. And so based on what part of the state or Southeast you're in, innovation might look a little bit different. It doesn't have to be cutting edge. It really just needs to be something new that you're doing that is helping move your organization and folks that you serve forward. And So when we think about our model and how we work, I mean, we really want to save you time, save you energy, and hopefully save you a little bit of funding as well. And so we really try and make it as easy as possible on you to engage with interns over the summer. So, um, you know, there's an application process, but then we ask, we take that application. Once you're accepted, we turn that into a job description for you. Then we post that on our website, start to recruit students. We typically do about 95% of the recruitment. We do ask that, you know, you share the opportunity as well on social media and things like that. And if you have a low number of applicants, we certainly ping you and ask you to maybe do a little bit more. But in most cases, we don't have to do that. Just mainly works in some more of the rural or smaller communities. But beyond that, we do the hiring as well. So thinking about, you know, taking that off your plate. So with the hiring process and with biweekly pay, we handle all of that. And so just want to make sure that we're providing a robust set of activities for you. And so just thinking about how we can best support you and the work that you do and save you time and energy. To give you a little bit of snapshot of what we're doing this year. So summer is quickly approaching. We're about 3 weeks out from the start of our 2025 Penn Summer Internship. And so we are slated to have 106 interns. And out of those interns, we had 554 applicants. So you can see the applicant pool was very robust, you know, offering a lot of different colleges engaged, different majors, folks from all over the nation and all over the world were applying for these internships, which is really great to see because of the plethora and breadth of the types of projects that folks can engage with. And also this year we have about 50 host sites across 24 different cities across the state and across the Southeast, representing most of Georgia and then 4 additional states. And this is a map of where we're located this summer, but of course we're not limited to these areas. Just happens to be where folks applied from and you know, which projects we were able to accept. But great opportunity to see the geographic diversity in which we're engaged in. And so backtracking a little bit to the 2024 internship, so we had about 41 host sites there with 2 anchor partners, and those 2 anchor partners remain with us this year as well. We had about 13 different alumni organizations and 26 new organizations last year. That equaled out a little bit more so this year with 23 of our partners being new and about 23 being returning partners as well. And so just to give you an example of what some of these projects look like. So there's researchers at Kennesaw State. They were looking specifically at, you know, how do we provide better service to folks who are calling 911 that are experiencing a mental health crisis. A lot of times, you know, some of the anecdotal evidence we see is that sometimes the approach is a little bit off, you know, sending only police officers to these types of calls may end up with negative outcomes and, you know, including the person being jailed or hospitalized unnecessarily. So really looking at the calls themselves, analyzing through AI and through human in the loop interactions, and really starting to see, okay, well, what are the indicators within these calls that AI can pick up that says, hey, this person is having a mental health crisis, and that we need to make sure that we send additional resources along with the officers to respond to this call. And so students were able to really lean into that project, do a lot of the data analysis, do a lot of the programming that requires to really help bridge the gap between providing emergency services, but also providing robust mental health support.
Great. Thank you, Cody. Makes me want to be an intern again. I'm going to hand it over to Clarence to talk about the year-long fellowship program, which is pretty unique to get to have for your team.
Yes, thank you, Christine, and hello again, everybody. I apologize I didn't get a chance to formally introduce myself, but I'm Clarence Anthony Jr. and I'm the Workforce Development Manager for Penn. And so the Workforce Development pillar focuses on, as mentioned, creating the next generation of innovators within the workforce. And we specifically aim to give people the experience of working in multiple sectors, thereby increasing their fluency in sectors, the public sector versus the private sector, or startup versus corporate, nonprofit versus civic, etc. And so we think that by doing that, that gives people the opportunity to develop an expertise in multiple sectors and therefore build bridges and partnerships between these sectors. And so for the fellowship model, how we're hoping to move forward over the next couple of years, very similar to the Penn Summer Internship, we want to bring two fellows together to work on a project through a cohort model. And specifically, our population is the adult working population. So formally, we had a strong focus on early career professionals that had a college degree. And now, so we're transitioning to also open it up to people who do not have a college degree, and then also people who are mid to late career professionals as well too. So really serving the entire adult talent pool and developing a pipeline. We would have fellows to work with each of the projects and sites and or employers at a full-time basis. And then also very similar to the Penn Summer Internship, provide professional development programming for the fellows that focus on leadership, communication, better understanding themselves and developing their goals, and then also engaging in mentorship as well. The fellowship goes for a 12-month-long period from July of each year to June of the next year. And so within that 12-month period, we would have what we call 2 rotations, and those rotations can potentially be located in Georgia, the Southeast, or across the nation. Rotation 1 for any given year would go from July July to December, and then rotation 2 would go from January to June. The projects vary, and so they can potentially be those that have a strong focus on social innovation, such as stakeholder engagement, grassroots related work, or have a technological focus as well too, and that can be focused on technology adoption, development, and deployment. So the projects can be as technical or as social as needed based on the needs of the organizations that we would be working with. Very similar to the internship, we handle a lot of the recruiting as well as the vetting of candidates. And I can kind of later on in this presentation give an overview of what that process looks like. Next slide.
Great.
All right, so we have some things just like in terms of how we have thought about this and why we developed the fellowship in the way that we did. We really just looked at the needs of the market and especially the labor pool. So for job market competitiveness, the question is, so over half of recent college graduates are
Sorry.
underemployed. And so for a number of those who have recently graduated from college, they find themselves in jobs that may not necessarily meet the criteria or the level of skills or expertise that they've been trained to do. And so what we're hoping to do is to give people opportunities to utilize the skills that they have. And then in the next question, in 2024, according to the Education Data Initiative, average student loan debt in Georgia is, drum roll, $42,000. So that is a sizable amount of money. And so, and as we kind of think about what we are aiming to do, we want to create opportunities for people to find meaningful work, but then also to engage in work that will help to advance their economic mobility throughout their life cycle. Yeah. And we do that through the Penn Fellowship. I think what makes this specifically unique, as Christine mentioned, so a number of potential initiatives or programs within the workforce development sphere tend to either focus on one specific population or they might focus on one specific sector or industry. And then have their program participants to engage in one of those. And so what makes us very different is that we want to engage the entire adult workforce and pipeline or working population potentially. We're open to a diverse set of candidates and program participants. But then also our multi-sector approach and multi-industry approach is what makes us very, very unique. And so we want to develop people who are able to meet the job demands of multiple sectors and build bridges between the two or multiple sectors and be fluent in multiple sectors. Next slide, please. So an example of a Penn Fellowship project from this past year was with a newly graduated fellow, Isaac Harper, who's originally from New Zealand, and he's now working for the Georgia Clean Tech Innovation Hub. And this is an example of a project that had a strong social innovation component. And so what Isaac was able to do was to analyze, gather data, focused on toxic releases and whatnot, but then also develop insights to how he can communicate. And the Georgia Water Coalition can communicate some of these insights to the community. And through this project, community members were made aware of some of the toxic releases within the Augusta area. And then also this has given them the knowledge to be able to advocate for themselves to elected officials who would potentially be able to influence policy or develop policy and initiatives that will alleviate this issue. So really proud of this project. I think it really, showcases the community benefit that we have, but then also the fellow was able to have a very strong experience through the project, and then it translated to a job opportunity within the sustainability and clean tech space. Next slide, please.
All right. I also just wanted to add, I used to work for a foundation that had very lean staff, and it's just very difficult to make the case for a new staff member, but to have a fellow that you can outsource the payroll to is pretty incredible. And the example Clarence just gave, I used to work with the Georgia Water Coalition peripherally, and if there are two groups within a coalition or network that you might be a part of, and neither one can get a full-time person for a year, but two of the members of that coalition, like Science for Georgia and the Savannah River Keeper, could each have someone for 6 months that benefits their organization and the whole coalition, that's a great way to collaborate and add value to the coalitions or associations that you're a part of by kind of splitting the difference, as well as working on something impactful. So let's dive into the actual nuts and bolts of what the price tag and benefits are. So we're showing 3 examples right now. So column 1 is no PIN partnership. You are on your own, unfortunately. The middle column is if you were to host a PIN intern. Again, this is 12 weeks over the summer, a college graduate student or undergraduate student. And the final column is the PIN fellow. So from a financial standpoint, this is for having 2 individuals, because we know that that cohort matters for the individual participants and the employer to have a successful experience worthy of the investment of time, talent, and treasure. So with on your own, if you were to pay about $16.66 an hour above a $15 an hour piece, plus your payroll and fees, plus your staff time to hire, plus your staff time for professional development and logistics, it might be incalculable. Now let's move over to the intern piece. So we're looking at just $4,000 more, but you are not looking at any of the professional development, any of the payroll fees, any of those logistics. Again, as Cody mentioned, you're helping design the application by knowing what project you're seeking and the type of people you're looking for, and then helping make final decisions and promoting it when you can. And then finally, we have the fellows, where this would be for 1 6-month rotation. Again, this could be split between 2 organizations of any sector that are within the same association or coalition or network as Clarence shared. We are looking at making sure that we are paying a living wage to those talented emerging mid-career or late career fellows. And you will not have those payroll taxes or fees associated with it, or the liability involved. But let's look beyond the dollar amounts. So if you're looking for attracting and securing talent, you're either on your own, or PIN actually finds your intern, and PIN's through Georgia Tech is the employer for you. Again, working for a 2-person organization for a long time, this would have been a dream. And then we have the Fellows Program, which is similar. And then finally, looking at the staff time I would argue is our most valuable resource to conduct the hiring and onboarding. According to research from multiple sources, we're looking around 50 hours of staff time shared across multiple individuals to just do that minimal baseline work. And that assumes you don't have to reopen or follow up if you don't have a strong candidate pool. We're estimating it's about 8 hours of staff time to write that job description, dot the I's and cross the T's with PIN in terms of moving forward, and then participating in final interviews and selection to make sure you have the individuals that you want to work with. So this is a helpful snapshot, and we'll be following up with all the details so that you can have this and you can socialize it internally. The payment schedule. So we want to be malleable. So you have a few options: 100% payment at the time of signing the MOU or SOW, 100% payment in the first month of the internship or fellowship program, or like an employee, you can pay as you go with monthly or biweekly or quarterly installments, the way you would pay an employee. And we would work that out with you. Now, if we were to look at a single year sponsorship where you may or may not be the host, again, sponsor means you're funding it, and host means that you are actually the boots on the ground housing the interns and fellows. So there's 4 sets of options. Fully fund the interns or fellows for 1 year. That's 12 weeks for the interns or 1 6-month rotation. And this is the cost of 2 interns and 2 fellows so that you can have a more robust body of work with this cohort model. The second option is to do a 50% match. And as you saw earlier through Cody's slide, there is a huge demand of interns and fellows that want to be placed. And there's a huge number of organizations across sectors that would love to host, but might not be able to fully fund. So if you're able to do a 50% match, you would be covering half this cost, which is a win-win for everybody. And you would get to have the ability to choose from this great pool of what to support, either in your neck of the woods or for a type of organization you care about or that your company or nonprofit is aligned with. And then you have funding the professional development, which is another step down. This would be funding those few hours each week where you're getting the most out of it, and just making it a valuable experience for lifelong innovators. And then finally, during the opening/closing event each summer, we are having a named award in the name of your organization or company for the most innovative internship project each year and the most innovative fellowship project. And this would go to the host sites to help them support the next year of fellows or interns, respectively. But it would be named after your organization, your company, your agency, and have it promoted so that we are really lifting up these great examples and really changing some narratives about the amazing things that are coming from people of all ages in the South. So let me just pause there to see if there were any questions about the budget or these 4 kind of paired options of how you can participate. It is not one size fits all. It lives up to its name of being innovative. So as you pick your own adventure, a couple other things to keep in mind. This is what I find most valuable. So I just shared with you what the single year looks like, but spoiler alert, a multi-year sponsorship is much better. So this would be funding interns in a cohort of 2 for 12 weeks for 2 years. So this is what it would be for 2 single-year sponsorships. So as Cody mentioned, this year there are 23 returning sponsor host sites, but they're doing it 1 year at a time. Some of them are anyway. And we have the fellows. So this would be the cost of having 2 fellows for 6 months, 2 years in a row. However, we are offering a 20% discount for multi-year sponsorships. So this would be $32,000 for 2 interns, 2 years in a row. This would be $104,000 for 2 fellows for 6 months for 2 years in a row. There's also some other benefits where you would be a named sponsor. You would be invited to the opening and closing events for all interns and fellows, as well as other PIN events. And you'd be asked to attend, speak at, or be featured in them. And you'd have the opportunity to sponsor only and not host, of course. So again, if you're working at a grant-making foundation, and this could be a wonderful way to provide additional support to grantee partners, you might be a corporation that cares about corporate social responsibility in a certain region or for a certain cause. You might want to encourage more interns and fellows in some way, and all this can be helpful for you. So this is just some of the benefits of a multi-year sponsorship, especially since we want to answer the call of so many sponsors returning for a second year. So here's an example of a multi-year anchor sponsor. We want to lift up Park Pride for sort of being the first of the first in this multi-year sponsorship opportunity. So they worked on DeKalb County WD Thompson Park visioning. They had actually 3 interns for this work. So if you're interested in more than 2, please talk with us. We'll make it work. And then they developed maps, design, rendering, surveys, and practices for engaging the public. So this was just one example. And because this could be a longer term project, or maybe there's something else to do the second year, they're laying the groundwork and getting the discount and other benefits. So we have about 10 minutes left. We want to be respectful of your time, but there's a few questions we want to ask. So what are your thoughts on the model, specifically multi-year anchor sponsorships, the cohort model of placing 2 interns or 2 fellows at a time for more robust work, and for it to be successful culturally at your employer site for the interns or fellows and for you as the employer. And then the spread across Georgia, the Southeast, and beyond. What else can Penn do to add value or remove barriers? And what else can Penn do to attract these multi-year anchor sponsors, given the huge demand by host applicants and by fellow and intern applicants? So let me pause there. Please feel free to turn on your camera or not. Please feel free to speak up or to type in the chat, but would love your feedback on these questions. And this will conclude our presentation for today by hearing from you. And I know that Jessica Lavender hopped off, but glad that she'll be doing multi-year anchor sponsorship without even knowing all the benefits yet. So we have a few folks still on the call. I know some people had to drop off, but if you're able to, we have, if you want to check out more details, please see these QR codes. We'll also be following up via email. But let me just pause here. So Tessa, DL, Kendra, if you have any thoughts or questions or feedback for what would help you make the case, if you are interested in multi-year anchor sponsors with a cohort in Georgia, the Southeast, or beyond, and what Penn can do to make it more valuable for you, we'd love to hear from you. And Clarence and Cody, if you have any closing thoughts or questions, please jump in.
This is Tessa. I just want to say, like, we have a robust intern program. It looks like what y'all are doing would be great for companies that don't already have one. So good job. Fellows we may be interested in. I was just asked to attend this presentation on behalf of our VP of Gas Power. So I'm going to take this back to him and see what kind of what kind of thoughts he has on the Georgia Tech sponsorship. I think that was kind of the direction we were going with this, and we'll get back with you guys. Does that work?
That's great. Would it be helpful for any additional types of resources? I believe we can share like a PDF of this slide deck or anything else you need.
That would be amazing. Yes.
Okay. So
Perfect.
to do that, and if you are interested in that multi-year sponsorship, if you have additional questions, please be in touch so that we
Okay.
can help
Yeah.
you with the case.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
Any other thoughts or questions? And also, if there's any, regardless of your status of interns or fellowships, if there's things that you find that really work or don't work or that you've always wanted to do, please let us know. DL and Kendra, please feel free to jump in, but I won't volunteer you, of course. But Clarence and Cody, if you have any final thoughts.
Oh man, so thank you all for joining us today. We really appreciate your time and hope that this was insightful. We're going to be continuing to just communicate on next steps as we build out our programs and the partnerships over the next few years. So please stay tuned.
Thanks, you guys. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tessa.
Bye. Thanks.